Hi judges, my name is Celina Chen and I'm a rising junior here in New Jersey. And I created the app Breathe Safe, which is designed to help anyone with pollen allergies. So to start off, the main issue is that in the United States alone, more than 106 million people are affected from pollen allergies every year. And this doesn't just mean itchy eyes or runny noses, but it can lead to serious health implications. And most people don't realize how serious this everyday issue actually is. And as someone who's particularly vulnerable to pollen allergies and have seen my own family and friends suffer as well, I decided to create this app to take matters into my own hands. So, first, the flowchart of Breathe Safe is pretty simple. There's two sections. First, on the right over here, you can see the main section, which is basically about the user's personal environmental monitoring. So here, users can basically log their own pollen reports, like what time they felt their pollen allergies really bad, what kind of plant they think was the cause, and how severe it actually was. And then there's also an AI camera classifier that is able to classify the plant if you take a photo of it and tell you what kind of plant caused the pollen allergies. And then this all leads to a live national database where you can see other users' inputs from all across the nation and sort them based on your state. And then on the left, the other section is the Air Awareness Lab. And this is made to educate users so they aren't just blindly continuing with their pollen allergies, but learning more about what's causing it, the three different kinds of pollen, what they can do to help this problem, and how climate change is intensifying this issue. Okay, so to build on that, some of the core features include pollen logs. As I said before, users can log their state, their plant type, and their allergy severity. And this all leads to the community database, where it's kind of like you give and you take, you benefit in both ways. You're inputting your pollen reports, and at the same time, you're able to learn about how pollen is affecting others in your area. And then there's the Air Awareness Lab that I mentioned earlier, which is the interactive education aspect of the app. And finally, there's the AI Plant ID, where an AI camera is able to identify the plants and help users in that method. So here's a little bit of what the app user interface looks like, which I'll talk more about in the demo. Okay, so to go into more specifics, there are three specific interactive tools that are used for the environmental monitoring aspect of Breathe Safe. So first, obviously, there's the AI camera, which is connects to Gemini, and this identifies plants and checks pollen production and helps users learn more because most people don't have, they aren't able to just see a random plant and can identify it immediately. And then you can also track your own reports. You can see your own user accounts information and your past pollen reports. And then as well as that, you can see an entire national database that has live updates from others all across the country. Okay, so a walkthrough of the environmental monitoring part of the app. First, what you do is you create the account, and then you log into your account, and you're able to log your pollen reports and then share it with the rest of the nation. And then finally, you're able to explore through the database. And here is a brief video that we can all listen to that explains exactly how the app works and walks you through it. I'll start by accessing my pollen logs, where I'll create and then log into that new account. Now I can actually log my pollen report, and since I don't know exactly what kind of plant my allergy came from, I can use Gemini AI to identify and classify this plant. And now after logging a few more reports, you can see how they all show up in my personal log base. So now I can explore the community report database, where based on whatever state the user is in, they can see every other user's what time, the date that they felt a severe pollen allergy, what plant, and how severe it was. Okay, great. So now we'll go through the app walkthrough of the other part of the app, which is the Air Awareness Lab. So first, obviously, you can navigate between all these different sections of the app really easily. So you enter the lab, and then there are two sections to this as well. You can choose to learn more about pollen, or you can choose to learn about how climate change and allergies intersect. And then, of course, you can return back to the lab to continue learning, or you can go back to the community database to log more. Okay, now I'm back home and I want to learn more about pollen allergies, so I'm going to the Air Aware Lab. And this has two sections, one to learn about pollen, which you see right here, and there's three main different kinds of pollen that this educates users on. And then the second section is regarding climate change and its impact on pollen allergies. Okay, and then lastly, here's a brief software appendix of the different kinds of software that I use to build Breathe Safe. So first, obviously, there was Firebase, and this was the database that I used in order to store two sets of information. First, account registration for each user, so this included their username and their password, and then pollen reports, which included the user, the timestamp, their state, their latitude/longitude, their pollen severity, and then the plant type. And then MIT App Inventor was the main coding language and the main coding tool that I used to create Breathe Safe. And then Google AI Studio was how I used the AI camera to classify the plants. And there were different web components that I used inside of MIT App Inventor to connect to Gemini. And then finally, there was the base64 extension in order to convert the plant images into a base64 string to be read by AI. Okay, thank you so much for listening. This was our presentation, and my app is Breathe Safe. Thank you.